California is currently, and he's been working for many, many years, decades, on the excavations in Nemea and Peloponnesus. And starting January of next year, or February, he will be also participating on Greek TV, talking about Nemea, the excavations, the modern Nemean Games, and also the Olympic Games in the year 2004. Ladies and gentlemen, Professor Stephen Miller. And now it is my time to introduce our special guest here, our speaker. He came all the way from Massachusetts, and allow me to say, I don't have too many things to brag about, but there is one thing that I'm going to do, and I've been doing that. I'm bragging that I come from the same village, little village in Epirus called Gage, the village where Gage, Nicholas Kazarianis was born. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Nicholas Kazarianis. Author of the book Glendi and many other books, former correspondent for New York Times, and the president for many years of the Pan-Patriotic Federation. He is here, and we're all very honored.
As we near the end of the 20th century, all of the Southern Balkans could turn into the kind of bloody battlefield that the area was at the beginning of this century. Indeed, the Balkans have been called history's cauldron. What is most alarming is that the potential conflict in the Southern Balkans would involve not only the countries that have fought each other and the peoples that have fought each other up to now, but also two NATO allies, Greece and Turkey, who are both heavily armed and capable of causing such devastation to each other as has not been seen in Europe since World War II. That terrible possibility is why the Clinton administration has warned Serbia that NATO will intervene militarily if it does not accept some kind of accommodation on Kosovo. Washington is right to be concerned, particularly since there is a serious risk that wider Balkan war will draw in Greece and Turkey. But warning only one side will not only fail to avert a broader war in the area, it may actually ensure that hostilities spread throughout the whole region. While Washington's threat may restrain the surge, it could very well encourage the Albanians in Kosovo, who have ample stockpiles of arms, to continue their violent struggle because they feel Americans will come to their rescue and help them win independence and their ultimate goal, union with Albania. What is needed for the region is not warnings whose consequences have not been thought out, but an effective policy that will restrain the ethnic ambitions of all parties in the region. The key to such a policy is parallel status for all minorities in the region, for the Albanian minority in Kosovo and the Greek minority in southern Albania, in what is known as northern Italy. If that is done, the Albanians will have to scale back their demands for Kosovo because they would have to give the same rights to the Greeks in northern Cyprus. And the Serbs would be more willing to be generous if their parallel co-religionists also got the same kind of rights that they are giving the Albanians in Kosovo. But any plan that is unfair and unbalanced, that ignores the realities of the region, and that tries to address the grievances of the Albanian minority in Serbia while ignoring the Greek minority in Albania, is doomed to failure and will prolong conflict throughout the rest of the Balkans. As Flora Lewis wrote in the New York Times, the only way to avoid the inevitability of a wider war in the Balkans is to address all the issues involved there as a package, instead of just focusing on the battlefield of the week. The war in Slovenia lasted a week and killed 8 Slovenes. The war in Croatia lasted 6 months and killed 20,000. The war in Bosnia lasted 2 years and killed 200,000. Each time, while governments focused on ending one war, they failed to take action which might have averted a worse tragedy further south. But even Bosnia, with its 200,000 dead, will seem like a small conflict if the United States and Europe continue to encourage Albanian nationalist ambitions in the region. The primary victims of those ambitions will be the Greek minority in northern Cyprus. Although northern Cyprus has had a Greek identity since Homer's time, it was arbitrarily given to Albania when the country was created in 1913 at the insistence of Italy and Austria to protect their control of the Adriatic Sea. As Ismail Kemal, the founder of modern Albania himself wrote, the people of northern Cyprus were by language and national sentiment Greek, but they found themselves a minority in a hostile land that regarded them with suspicion and persecuted them relentlessly for the rest of the century. The persecution reached unimaginable levels during the long communist rule of Albania under the brutal Stalinist dictator Enver Hoxha. Even as late as 1989, when the American journalist Robert Kaplan went to northern Cyprus, he found deplorable conditions for the Greek minority, as he writes in his famous book, Balkan Ghost. I just want to quote one paragraph from the book. Under sodium lamps, I examined the faces of these Greeks, he writes. The expressions in their eyes seemed far away. They were like shadows almost. In one home in the town of Sarande, 5 members of a family crowded around an old black and white Russian television set. How are things here, I asked. It's fine. We have everything we need, the father told me. The children remained silent. The oldest son accompanied me back to my hotel. I was secretly baptized, he confided in the dark. I am Greek. What else can I be? I believe in God. All of us here are fukarades, poor miserable bastards. 4 days later, in a nearby village, 2 Greeks were shot trying to cross the border into Greece. Their bodies were hung upside down in the public square. End of quote. Everyone hoped that when communism finally collapsed in Albania and a new, ostensibly democratic government was elected in the spring of 1992, these abuses would end. But the government of Sali Berisha continued the oppressive policies of the past. Greek schools were closed, property of the Albanian Orthodox Church was not returned, security police harassed, imprisoned, beat and raped ethnic Greeks in the south. As a result of these policies and hardships, more than 100,000 ethnic Greeks have sought refuge in Greece, and many others have joined relatives in the United States, Europe, and Australia. Although the new government in Tirana is more moderate and less hostile to the Greek community, persecution still continues at a high level. The objective of all these pressures is to force the Greeks to abandon their home and move south to Greece. As this policy of subtle ethnic cleansing diminishes the Greek population of Albania, it increases the prospect of a devastating war in the southern Balkans. As long as there is a strong Greek minority in northern Nicaros, Albanian nationalists will be afraid to try to seize Kosovo and the western part of Fyrom out of fear that Greece will try to protect their own minority in northern Nicaros. But if Tirana succeeds in cleaning out southern Albania of all ethnic Greeks, Albanian nationalists will pursue their goal of creating a greater Albania that will soon be as large as Greece if the three parts are joined together, and will provide a bastion for Turkey in the Balkans. For the sake of stability in the Balkans, for the sake of peace in the Eastern Mediterranean, and for basic human decency, the Greek community of northern Icarus must endure, and the rights of its people must be restored at long last. They need your support, and they need your prayers. Thank you very much.